Now thank we our God, with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things hath done, in whom this world rejoices.
Recently, the Archbishop of Dublin said that the Church in Ireland needed to take a reality check. I suppose one of the reasons we have examinations at the end of a semester is to provide such a reality check on the work of the last semester. And when you see your results, they may help you to make your own reality check on how you have spent the last semester. In today's Gospel, our blessed Lord is also carrying out a reality check on those entering the temple for prayer. He sees the scribes who like to walk around in long robes, to be greeted obsequiously in the market squares, to take the front seats in the synagogues. It strikes me that Jesus is playing the role of the little boy in the story of the emperor's new clothes. The emperor thinks he is clothed in finery, but he's actually naked. And it is the little boy who provides the reality check for the emperor. The pretense that all is well has been shown up, and the naked truth has been called for, and it has been proclaimed. Jesus is calling the false show of piety of the scribes for what it really is: all show and no substance. Jesus, who is the truth, speaks the truth. And maybe the referendum can act as the little boy in the story for us in the Irish Church. How is it that almost everyone born and educated in our Catholic schools for the last 50 years chose not to listen to the bishops, not to listen to the magisterium of the Church, not to listen to natural law? Mr. Marx might say, what are we to do? It can be so easy to see what is wrong, to call out in derision. But a true reality check must also involve some positive pathway to the living of what is understood as reality. And Jesus points to the reality that the scribes should be living. He points to the poor widow. Her worship of God is real and not simply a charade. The widow is the reality check, not some document drawn up by a focus group or a think tank. Reality is not to be found in the celebrations of popular culture or even in the results of an agenda-ridden referendum. Where are we to find reality if we're to have a reality check? We Dominicans like to think of ourselves as realists, with our theology grounded in a philosophy which speaks of our ability to understand and to dialogue with the real. We believe we can know reality, not simply manipulate it or invent it. That is why our theology must always begin with that which is most real, the one who is existence itself, God. And it is no pious tradition that our Holy Father St. Dominic only spoke to God or of God. God was the ground of Dominic's reality. And that which is real must set itself in a relationship to that real God. That is why our sister St. Catherine of Siena said that the soul can only know herself when she sees herself in God. That is why Aquinas begins his Summa Theologiae with God's existence. We must begin with that which is truly real to understand all that is real. To see the human search for meaning apart from the reality of God is to go wandering in a maze of unreality and invented solutions. The fundamental reality check is where we stand in our relationship with God. How sad it is that most today seem not to believe that God is real, that his words are real, that his commandments are real. The widow that Jesus points to knows where she stands in her relationship with God. She gives him everything, acknowledges that she is fully dependent on him, and trusts completely in him. She doesn't simply give to God what is left over after she has got the most out of life. She doesn't hold on to her few pennies in the hope of buying herself fulfillment. She has planted her deep roots in the reality of God. In this year of consecrated life, we too can be for the church here in Ireland as the widow is in today's gospel. We can live our lives totally dependent on God, living witnesses to the truth of the reality of God. When people see us as religious, they should be immediately confronted with the reality of God and not made more comfortable in their cultural expressions of spirituality or sentimentality. As religious in Ireland of today, and as religious have always been in the life of the church, we are to be those who take God seriously and believe in the reality of God and see our own reality in God. We are not those who simply give to God what is left over, either in our time or in our talents, but give all in the living out of the evangelical counsels. Much has been written about the ordering of the chapters in Lumen Gentium, the Second Vatican Council's document on the Church. How important that chapter 2 comes before chapter 3. That chapter 2 on the people of God comes before that which deals with the hierarchy. But I have never seen in the literature a discussion of why chapter 5 comes before chapter 6. The chapter on the call to holiness comes before the chapter on religious. The great call of the council was the call to universal holiness. And we religious are given to the church as living witnesses to this reality. The church's call to holiness of the council is not some unreality, but it is to be made concrete in the lives of religious, witnessing to all the people of God of their fundamental call to holiness. Holiness, the true reality of what it means to be a redeemed human being. Any other reality which doesn't lead to holiness is less than what we human beings are called to by Christ. As religious, we are meant to tell the whole truth, hiding nothing, but revealing in worthy fashion the works of God, to use the phrase from today's first Mass, our first reading. At the beginning of this homily, dear brothers, I said that when you get your results of your exams on grace, the sacraments, sacred scripture, Greek, canon law, justice and allied virtues, that these would be the reality check for you. I admit I was wrong. It is not the results of the exams that matter fundamentally, but how what you have learned during this semester changes your life and allows you to live more conformed to Christ. How your theology becomes your reality. It is not so much learning about the supernatural life of grace, but the living of it more deeply because you have studied it theologically. That's the true reality check. The scribes knew their theology. They had their longer phylacteries and their academic degrees. But it was the widow, my famous Mrs. Murphy, who lived the reality. So at the end of this academic year, let us bless the Lord on earth and give thanks to God and begin ever more deeply to live the truth of our real faith.